Happy New Year, everybody. I'm very glad to say goodbye to 2020 and welcome all of you to Orientation 2021. Let's get started. Some of the topics that we'll cover today, they're going to be your contract, whether or not it's signed, your start date, as well as enrollment will dictate when you will see a contract offered to you through email. Please remember to sign that and send it back. If you have any questions regarding your contract, if you could please contact Andrea Burkett. She's doing the contracts for this term and will continue to do so moving forward. So if any questions at all, it can be directed to her. We'll also talk about new course outlines, critical path, final exam dates, reviewing evaluations, and test analysis. So wanted to give you a heads up that we do have new formats to our course outline. Again, it's located in the same place in Blackboard as previously. So in the menu on the left-hand side, under course outline, you'll see that there'll be two items listed there. This is what the course outline will look like. It's more generic. It doesn't require us to change it as often. Please remind your students to review it, print it for their own records. They often need to refer to it in the future, and so it's helpful if you kind of encourage them to read through it as well as keep it for their own personal records. The critical path is, as mentioned, critical. Please have them read through this. You need to emphasize these are the dates of all their evaluations. They need to record this. Every year we always have a group of students who continue to say, and especially now in COVID times, life is so hectic. I didn't know when my evaluation was. I'm sorry I missed it. It's my own fault. And lots of reasons why they would miss an evaluation. So just to mitigate against the risk of anyone missing their evaluations throughout the course and as well as their final exam, please, please, please have them read the course outline and read the critical path. All right, speaking of the critical path, seeing that all exams are going to be online in Blackboard and not proctored, the final exam announcement needs to go out during the first week of your course. So you can check under the Assessments Test tab on the left-hand side of Blackboard and click down and scroll through to the bottom till you see the final exam. You'll see a gray chevron. You can click on it. And underneath there, you'll get options where you can either edit the test or edit the test options. When you look at edit the test options, under there you can see the parameters that have been set, so the date and the time for the release of the final exam. So it's all been preset in all your live sites already. Dami and Bernadette have worked hard to get all your startup and dates into Blackboard for you. And so you just want to confirm the date and then go back out and post an announcement for your students, especially those in a condensed 7-week course. Let them know as soon as possible the date. It is in their critical path, but we like to help them out a little bit, let them know when their final exam is, because many of them might have conflicts with their work schedule or need to arrange for someone to cover. A reminder, final exams in Blackboard, it is not proctored. All tests, including the final exam, have to be completed in one sitting. They cannot backtrack in the test. And the test will automatically submit once the allotted time has elapsed. This is important information to share with your students, especially students in the level 1 courses who have never taken courses or CE courses with Humber before. So it manages their expectations and reduces the risk of disappointment and difficulty. So please remind them of these. And additionally, I like to let my students know not to spend more than 2 minutes on any multiple choice question. Or 2 minutes per mark on a short answer type question. Okay, so this will reduce the risk of them spending too much time on a question and then running out of time at the end of the test. So it just guides them a little bit, and a lot of them are pretty appreciative of that information. So when you review a final exam or any test within the course beforehand, you can quickly scroll through and look to see whether or not you've covered off those topics sufficiently. If you don't remember the steps of how to review a test or have a look at the test that's been set up, you can contact myself or the online developers, Dami or Bernadette, and they'll quickly send you some steps to go through and look. Basically, you go to the Assessments Test tab, and then you scroll down to the test, and then you look at Edit the Test. You select Edit the Test from the menu, from the drop-down, and then you can quickly scroll through questions with the answers there indicated. And then when you are exiting, if you could just press Cancel, because we don't want you to change any of the tests. If you do identify any problems with any of the questions, please email us right away and let us know so that we can fix it before it is administered to your students. Previously, I went through analyzing a test, and these are some of the steps we follow as a program advisor to continually improve our tests and test questions. So I thought I'd cover up the topic quickly, just to introduce you to it, and in case any of you are fans of kind of statistics and looking at data analysis with respect to the results of your test after they've been written by your students. So in Blackboard, you have an option to do an item analysis. This is within the Assessments tab, Assessments Test tab. And, once the test has been written, this option is available. So you can click on that option. And then here's where you select the test. So here will populate any test that has already been completed by your class. And then you select, in this case, we selected test 2, and then you hit the run button. As it runs the analysis, it'll populate any analysis that you've requested, and it'll populate in a list here. So test 2 is sitting here, and the analysis was requested December 17, 2020. So it'll remain here in a list for you to select at a later date. This is what an analysis looks like. And basically we're looking at kind of the discrimination and difficulty. So the tests, so here's the number of possible points and the questions and the breakdown and a legend for discrimination and difficulty. Here's where they would list every single test question and then the score for discrimination and difficulty, graded attempts, and the average score. And there's lots of data here in this screen. We'll talk a little bit about discrimination and difficulty because that's the two information pieces that we use to evaluate the question. So discrimination is the ability of an item to differentiate between two things. And in this case, it's the ability of the question to differentiate between students who scored well and students who did not. The higher discrimination value, the better. The discrimination ranges from greater than 0.3 to less than 0.1. You'll also see it displayed as a negative decimal. And you can hover over this eye icon or symbol in the legend, which is here. And you'll see the range of values for what is a good question, a fair question, or a poor question. So we look at discrimination for a question. We also look at the difficulty of a question. The difficulty of a question is provided as a percentage of the students who answered the question correctly. Again, you can hover over the legend that's provided and just hover over the information icon or the eye icon, and you'll see the percentage range for easy questions, medium questions, and hard questions. What we look at is we choose to look at any question that has less than 50% of the students answered correctly. Blackboard itself also indicates problem questions and draws your attention to it in a pink dot. So you'll see as the questions are listed here, they'll be identified with a pink dot based on Blackboard's analysis of the item. Our criteria for a problem question would be a discrimination of less than 0.4 or a negative value. Recall that negative number is less than 0. And a difficulty of 50% or less. So that would draw your attention to the problem. You simply have to click on the question and the question will open up. So you can read the question and read the correct answer. When you identify a problem question, you are to review it. Look at the question, determine if you feel that it's either we've made a mistake and we have the incorrect answer, or to some extent it's unfair, or you deem it to be unfair. Take a screenshot of it and email it to us. We'll ask for a rationale, we'll talk a little bit about the question, and if everyone deems that this question should be omitted, we will adjust the test. if it's deemed that this can remain, it's fair enough, and it can remain for this class, we can look to improve the question or the wording in the question, or potentially the options if it's a multiple choice question, to improve the question for the next iteration of the course. One of our guiding principles is that no student or course section should have an unfair advantage over another. All right. So I will have a couple other videos for specifically the Quorum teachers and the NEF teachers. And I wish all of you a great term. Please feel free to contact me anytime you need. I'm available by text, I'm available by email, and I'll get back to you right away. So have a great term. Bye-bye.